Welcome to Bid on You, the podcast, where we help you navigate the chaos of life and experience the bliss of backing yourself. Hosted by yours truly, Marissa Lee. It's time to bid on you. So let's start the show. Welcome back to Bid on You, making noise and clapping. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Lo, who is a dancer, who is a boxer, who is a pending life coach, at least for me personally, and beyond. She's also really just going to be here to tell us how to be an all-around badass today. So I will let her kind of give us some coaching. But we're really going to focus this episode on how to roll with the many, many punches that come with this life, especially as we roll into a new year with our resolutions. So let's get the show started. Do you want to do an intro? Do you want to tell the people, or was that good? How do you feel? You can add anything you'd like. You were like, it encompassed me completely. Okay, incredible. So we did this little thing on the show, Members of the Month. It's really just for me and my overly online presence. So if I see something, we can really just like kind of have hot topics and pop culture and chat about it. So of course, this week we're going to talk about Simone Biles. Okay, good. That was me assessing if you knew what we were going to say. So this is really a shout out to Simone. However, it's for all the women in the world, or the world tries to randomly like humble for absolutely no reason. So if you're not familiar, don't know how you wouldn't be, but Simone Biles is the most awarded Olympian, I'm pretty sure, as the girls say. I mean, she's on the cereal box. She is that girl. And hello in the world, like man, woman, he, she, they. So she married this young man, and I'm trying not to like, shade too much, but she married this young man. Seems cute. That's why I was really bummed out, because I was like, you really could have just sat there and been pretty. Yikes. But anyway, they went on a podcast. Nah. Funnily enough, no, we would never, not a bid on you, get it to someone else. So they went on a podcast and basically decided to say that he was the actual catch and that she lucked up and she pursued him and rah, 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 rah. Oh, my Lord. And after that, I was like, I will not be asking a man for directions. Like, you literally won't get it from me. I won't be asking them anything.
You know what it is, though? It's like a overcompensation for the lack.
From himself.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, again, like everything you listed, like how accomplished, how recognized, and also like just how pivotal her presence has been.
Right.
Is he? Not no shade.
And it's no shade, but I'm not an Olympian.
I think that's scary. Me.
Yeah,
I think it's scary to be next to someone that maybe you are a little bit intimidated by.
Scary for women or for men?
For men. I think mostly for men. And I've been listening to, kind of a lot of like different balances of that. And it takes, I think we still sometimes forget that we're segueing away, not necessarily away, but we're finding different ways of thinking of like roles within a relationship or roles between like man and a woman. Okay. And like, I think that a lot of times we still think like the man is the taker carer, the man is the presence, and the woman, and the woman is a bit of the supporter. Not to say that that is absolutely true and everything, but I do think like it still lives there. So I think the male ego is 1000% valid to be there, but I do think that it's a tough one to navigate when the woman is very strong and the woman is very present.
I think the issue I run into with that is in general of life right now as women, especially, it's like when a man is like, for example, like Keke Palmer's baby father, when he was like, I'm super traditional, except for the fact that y'all aren't married, except for the fact that you have a baby and you're not married, except for the fact that you're not the breadwinner. Like, it's always traditional when it comes to putting women down and putting them in their place, specifically in relationships. Because I feel like for myself, right? Like, I'm single, no man pays my bills, etc. But then it's like, so same thing with Simone. She's like, I'm a go-getter. Even she says this in the interview. She's like, I knew what I wanted and I got it, which cute. However, it does make me wonder, like, maybe the girls are onto something with like the rules and all of that, because there is some component that no matter how much women like progress and are like independent, there's still that element of like, but you still need to sit back and let a man like chase you down the street like Rapunzel. And I just don't get that.
Yeah, and I think it's also from, not to say it's our fault too, but I think on some level, because we know that that is possible for like a bruised ego or, you know, whatever the case may be, I think sometimes we sort of like let them have it.
Oh,
You know,
how so?
in the sense that like, I know that this is going to make him feel strong and good. So I'm not going to say this, or I'm not going to, you know, be as loud about this. I am going to sit back on this one. And I don't know. I don't know
That's
if,
good,
I don't know
because
if it's
I don't
happening.
think that way. So I need to start.
Yeah, but,
Like, that's a
I'm
good
not
in-between.
saying everyone does this. I
Yeah.
think, and maybe I'm also
Like keeping
speaking.
the peace.
Yeah, maybe I'm also speaking for myself.
Mhm.
I don't feel I actually do this in this relationship, but I
Mhm.
do think in past relationships I've done that, where
Mm.
I have sort of like, I've known that they might have needed a little boost. So
Mm.
I don't want to be, or in my mind, I felt,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want to shower them with the accolades that I just had, or I don't want to be
That's
so
so
out loud
true.
with my
Success.
yeah, or just even my drive. You know what I mean? I think
Mm.
someone having drive is scary when you don't have drive. Someone having drive is like uncomfortable because you're
Woo!
like, it almost shines this spotlight on like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that
And then you're insecure and you're projecting that onto me. Like, you're thinking that I'm getting
Yeah.
ready to leave you.
and I think that that's not even particular to man or woman. I think
Yeah.
that at the end of
Any
the day is a whole,
relationship.
yeah. And so I think it just, you know, you have someone like Simone Biles who's like
Hello.
the ultimate, like, you know, she wanted something, she got it in the biggest way possible, and on one of the biggest
Yeah.
platforms, you
Yeah.
know. And it's not like, how can I compete with that? Totally. But it is kind of like, most of us will never know what that
Yeah.
feels like
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big feat.
But I think knowing that, it's like you knew all of these things when you
Signed
got
up.
with me.
Most do, and most that's the attraction.
But no, he swears up and down he didn't know who she was. Okay. So
I totally
I don't believe, even the men, when a man is looking at you like, that's how you know. Like, they were like, bruh, come
there's
on.
so much Instagram, there's so much like, come
Yeah,
on.
like, what are you, 70? Please.
You can find out who I was, and I'm not her.
Okay. You can find bid on you. And you can, like, please, Simone comes to you. Be serious. Okay, well, good luck, Simone. We love you, and we love all the women and people out there who just want more for themselves. And we hope that you all find the person that wants the same for you. That's like a very PC way of pulling it together. So speaking of wanting the same for you, we're going to get into you, Miss Ma'am. So tell us a little about your journey, how you got to LA, just your little backstory.
I feel like I kind of went like around and then landed. I'm originally from Guam, which most don't know where that is, but it's over by the Philippines.
Like, people have heard of
But
Guam.
yeah, some. I think
Okay.
when they hear Guam, they're
They're
like,
Guatemala.
yeah, or
It
they,
runs
yeah.
together.
I think yesterday someone asked me if it was by the Caribbean. I was like,
Ooh.
no.
Okay.
So hit or miss on anyone
Yeah,
that
geography's
knows.
not my strong suit either, so we'll give them that.
It truly wasn't mine, but you know, I know where Guam
At least I
is.
know where I came from. So
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was about to say in theory. In reality, I was born in Atlanta, but my dad is originally from Guam and wanted me to grow up there, so I probably moved when I was like 3 or 4.
Do you say like Guamian? Like, what's the?
So this is, I feel like a heavily debated topic, but I'm half Chamorro, so I would refer
Okay.
to myself as being Chamorro.
What's Chamorro?
Chamorro is like the native people from Guam.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Is it like Caribbean?
Yeah,
Guamian?
or it'd be like Hawaiian, like, you know,
Okay, cute.
There's
Polynesian.
Hawaiians. Yeah,
I
but
see.
with that said, there are people who are born and raised on Guam that are not Chamorro.
Right.
So
On a
they-
territory sort of
Yes.
thing.
So
Okay.
they would
It's giving
maybe-
Pearl Harbor.
yeah, consider themselves like Guamanian.
Okay, so I was right. That's a
Not
word.
totally wrong, but like a Chamorro person wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily, they wouldn't necessarily refer to themselves as Guamanian.
Got it.
In the same way that like in Hawaii, like if
Yeah.
someone's not Hawaiian, native Hawaiian, they wouldn't call themselves Hawaiian.
Got it. Okay, cute. Okay, so then you were in
So I
Guam.
was on Guam. I grew up, went to high school all the way, and then I went to college in Hawaii because I felt like that was like the next big step.
Right. And it's not too far-ish.
Not too far. It was like an 8-hour
Yeah.
plane ride, and it's pretty much Guam but bigger.
Yeah.
So I went to college there. I went to University of Hawaii in Manoa.
That's so
AA.
fun.
Go Bows. And then I did like a study abroad in London
Okay.
for dance. And then I was like, I want to do the dance thing. I want to do it big.
really
I want to
wanna
do it
keep
hard.
dancing.
Yeah. So then I went and moved to New York on a whim. Like,
Yeah.
I really just was like, let me just pack my bags.
Because
and-
that's where everyone dances. You're like, that's my next step.
yeah, it was either New
naturally.
York or LA. And in my mind, I was like, I would never. I don't even know where I was coming from with this, actually, like this energy. But I was like, I would never live in LA. Like,
Everyone says
absolutely
that. And I'm
not.
like, okay.
But I
Here
mean,
we
I
are.
could count on zero hands how many times I've been there. I'd never been there.
Yeah.
So the logic was just like, no.
Just the vibes. The vibes
Yeah,
are off.
Just the vibes were off. Never been there, but the
No
vibes were
proof.
off.
Yeah.
Zero proof. So I moved to New York, danced there, lived there for like 6 years, and then moved to visited LA.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, it's actually like not so bad here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also warm. We like that.
Hey, did you visit during the winter in New York?
I visited during, when was it? I think it was like actually like August.
Okay.
Like
But you were
summer.
like, it's not even horribly hot and
Yeah.
humid.
Yeah. And it was like cool at
Yeah.
night. I was like, and I at the time was like, everyone's so nice.
Right.
Like, you know, let's, you see how I
I
know
was
that?
fooled, but here we are today.
At the time, I was like, this is cool. Like, I
Yeah.
could see. And I think the biggest attraction was that at the time, again, it seemed like you got more for your buck.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, you know, I was still in New
Hmm.
York dancing and I think I was just sort of like tired of
Yeah.
living the starving artist
Oof.
life. And so I was like, if I'm going to live as a starving artist, like let me
Yeah.
do it in the sunshine.
Yeah.
So I left New York and just on a whim again decided to move to LA. I told no one. I visited LA. I booked a job,
Yeah.
a dance job, went back and packed my stuff and literally left. Like people still thought I lived in New York when I was living in
They were
LA.
like, hey, can you go to dinner? And you're like, I'm actually across the country.
yeah, I'm like, "Funny story, I'm in LA right now. And they're like, oh, like, when are you coming back? And I was
Funny
like,
story is crazy.
yeah,
Like,
I actually live there.
I don't know if you saw, but I moved.
Yeah, I got an
officially.
apartment.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so wait. So with dance, did you grow up dancing? Was that something you always did? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I always wanted to play sports, but I was like super clumsy. Like I broke like 5 bones.
You said the sports didn't want to play me.
They
It's the
truly
thing.
didn't. My
Okay.
mom was always like, she has an eye for the ball, and I
Aw,
absolutely did not
That
have
was
an eye
sweet,
for
but
the
she
ball.
believed, and that's
She
what you needed.
truly
Yeah.
believed. So she put me in dance.
Yeah.
And
She was like, this will get her energy out
she goes
safely.
dot dot dot
Yeah.
dance. So I did that and made like the competition team, and it was huge blessing actually because I think it's really hard to leave Guam because it's expensive. It's a big trip, you know, and there's really no reason to unless you're doing a sport or
Something
you
that
know,
takes you out of it.
yeah, something that takes you out of it. So I think I was really lucky to dance. The studio I danced for was called Skip Entertainment. And we just were like the main touring company at the time. And I got to go to like Canada. I got to go across the mainland US. I got to go to Europe for
It
dance.
exposes you to so much.
Yeah. So even though I was on Guam, which would maybe be an isolating
Yeah.
experience, even though it's a beautiful experience,
Right.
I still got to see what else was possible.
Right.
outside of it.
You were like, there is life outside of this that I might be interested in.
Correct.
I love that. So then in New York, you were dancing professionally.
Mhm.
And then how did you transition from? So we know we moved to LA,
Mhm.
but then how do we transition out of dance
Into boxing.
into boxing? Because I guess like you were like, no more New York, no more dance, boom, boom.
Well, it was a hard transition, number one. I'm going to start there. It was a really hard transition, even deciding that I was done with dance.
Okay.
Because I
How
grew
did
up-
you get to that decision?
I didn't even realize I didn't want to. I was like very resistant
Mm.
about it. I think I really became settled about it in 2020, which is interesting because I moved to LA in like 2016, 2017. And it took stopping for me to realize I suddenly realized I was relieved. I was
Ooh.
relieved that I didn't have to go to an audition. I was relieved
Wow.
that I didn't really like need to
Yeah.
go do something, go take class, go network. I didn't need to do those things and I felt relieved.
Mm.
And that was heartbreaking. Before that, it was heartbreaking because I was sort of dancing the middle,
Right.
pun intended. I was like sort of in the middle of like, I want to dance. I still want to dance. No, I don't. I hate it. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I just, or I would isolate and be like, I just hate it in LA. I loved it in New York. I hated it here.
Anything but the common denominator.
Anything but me just simply being done with it.
Wow.
Still love the art, still love to dance and move my body, but I didn't want to pursue it anymore. And that, you know, I've talked to maybe a few dancers. That's a really hard thing to accept because you spend your entire life, mind, body, and soul doing it.
It becomes your identity in many ways. So you're
I
like,
mean,
I'm
when people ask
releasing my
me,
identity.
They were like, oh, what's your name? Oh, Lo. So like, you know, what are you about? I'm a dancer. That was always the next thing.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I wouldn't tell you anything else about me, but I'm a dancer. That was my entire identity.
Especially in a place like New York or LA, because then it's like, whoa, and that opens up a whole conversation.
Correct.
And when you remove those things, it's like, okay, who am I at my core?
Right.
That
Like,
person
what do
is
I tell
worth
people? Like,
talking
what
about.
do I do? Because what I did was what I attached my worth to.
Right. But not even what do I do? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
If I'm doing nothing. That's what I'm working on right now. It's like, who am I innately? Like, what is that worth level about? Not just the things that I can produce or achieve.
Right.
But with that, so then we transitioned from dance to boxing.
So I was still in New York when I first took my first boxing class. And the reason why I even took it was because someone that I was dancing for, you know, talked to me about essentially, to put it nicely, like cross training because
Okay.
wanted me to slim down a bit. Yeah. I mean, not for nothing. It was like the first time I was like,
Stop.
I've been around like rich food.
Okay.
Like
you lost your mind a little
I
bit.
sure did. I was like drinking, like, you know, there's happy hours everywhere.
Yeah, you're like, pizza.
I was like, oh, I just keep drinking wine and have pizza. So like,
they were like, let's do some cardio. Baby.
yeah, but no one had ever talked to me about that.
That's so funny.
I just joined ClassPass and I saw a boxing gym on it and I just was like, all right, I'll go. Like that seems cool. And the first day I went, the first thing I had to do was like run half of the Brooklyn Bridge or something like that. And I was like,
hello? Am I Rocky? Like, I really just came over here to just see what was going on and y'all had me da-da-da-da. That's crazy.
I was absolutely terrified. And I was like, wait,
Absolutely
it's also
not.
I was cold too, because I was like, it's cold outside. I was, are you serious? And like no one taught me punches, like nothing. Went out, did the run, came back, still no one taught me anything. And I was like, okay, but like
you were just trying to jump in with everybody else.
legitimately. And then
Oh,
and
Lord.
I don't even know if I'm remembering this as accurately as it felt, but like it truly felt like
That's
one
so
minute
funny.
I'm running, next minute I'm back down and I'm trying to copy the person next to me
course.
throwing anything I saw her throw.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I feel like we were put into the ring. They split up the ring, and then they had us sort of like tagging each other. So I went into like, you know, let's just scrap maybe because like I don't know.
Not, I will fight you for my life.
I had no idea what
She said, all my life I had to fight.
this is paradise because I was like, let's go.
They're like, this is a family show. Wait a minute. Because, okay, so obviously boxing in my mind, obviously there's like the training for a fight. But if you're not, then in my mind, like I guess Lobos is like actually, but Box Union is more like the bag and you.
Yeah.
And like more of a fitness based. You were like, I don't know anything about that. Even that, y'all won't let us like, you have to do the little shadow class before you start. But they were like, you will practice on a person and you will either sink or swim.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
didn't, you know, I didn't know.
It's like a damn Rocky movie. It really is.
dude,
Creed.
it was
We're
absolutely
Creed right
hilarious.
now.
I left and I was like completely like, what just happened? Like, I don't know what I learned. But I also left like being like, I love this. I have no idea again what happened, but I ended up trying a different gym because again, I'm on ClassPass, whatever. Let's just try it. I tried another gym and they really walked me through the punches. They like gave me a bit more. It was a bit more.
You might have signed up for like an advanced and you didn't know it.
I probably
is
did,
what I'm wondering.
honestly. I probably just was like, I'll go to that one and like didn't read anything as per usual.
And it was actually like final training before the big fight.
yeah, it's like advanced, like people who
Weigh
are
in.
like technical.
She down there with Ronda Rousey and she didn't even know it.
I was like, let's go.
They're like, okay, she's got that spirit. And you can't teach that.
Yes.
Can't teach
I'm sure
heart.
The guy was like, she clearly moves. She clearly like can
Right.
pick up.
She thinks she's a Power Ranger, but
Yeah.
she's here. And
she
that's
has
what
no
counts.
idea what she's doing.
Right. So what made you from humble beginnings fall in love with boxing? Like what is it that you really fell in love with or that you love about it?
I loved initially that I wasn't good at it. and that was okay.
Who was it okay by? The world?
The world.
Period.
Like the coach really was like,
Huh.
and I think because it was such a different experience in dance where it's like very nitpicky of like, you have to do it right, you get a correction.
Yeah,
you
and
do
look
it
right at the same time.
Yes. And boxing was almost like I was celebrated because I was not good, you know, or I'd make mistakes or, you know, and I even would find that as I was going in the beginning, and I still do this to this day, I catch myself, I'll apologize. I'd be like, oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. And they're like, and literally the coach was like, stop. If you do that again, like I'll make you run. And I was like, okay. So I think what really made me fall in love was, that alone, I just was always in a constant process of learning, and still am constant process of learning. And what it turned to be, what started as physical turned to be this like full emotional, mental journey for me to be forced to kind of learn about myself because of those little habits of I'm sorry. Or me getting frustrated if I didn't get a combo, me like not understanding something and how I react. And I was starting to pay attention to those habits. And then I was like, wait, if I'm doing this here, if I'm this frustrated here, there's a really good chance I'm doing this elsewhere.
And it's crazy because when you start out, especially with your little young brain, like dance, cheer, all of that, where it really is about being perfect. Like it really is. Like you can't, especially even with like, obviously with contact sports, sure, of course, but you're going to be tackled. Like you're going to look weird. You're going to look awkward at some point. You're going to miss a shot in basketball, whatever. But like cheer, for example, if you mess up, you'll break your neck. Or someone else's. Like it really is. So I get where it comes from, but then also tying that into like beauty standards and all of these things that you're being shaped by as a young girl, and then trying to come out of that, even just to go to a fitness class as an adult is like, hello? Like you'll yell out in class and be like, nobody is looking at you. I'm like, they are. Like the coach is going to make me run. Like it's hard to get out of that. And we're in the dark, but I'm like, she probably saw me mess up. Yeah, like 1, 2, what? Like I don't even know. And then even that for me, boxing, but also yoga was what made me realize physically the impact that can have, because I was like, you don't breathe. Like I knew. Okay. So when I would tumble, I used to come up like really dizzy, and I would be like, hello. And it's because when I like stress or whatever, like I'm carrying this tension and I don't breathe. Girl, what? Like you're doing all of these intense things with your body and you can't even feel it because you don't breathe. You're not in tune with your body at all. You're just forcing yourself to do something. Right. So to your point there, it's like, am I in tune? Am I living this life and experiencing it? Or am I forcing myself with my breath held?
Oof, that
Holy. Let me get in your business because now we're getting in mine.
Is everything. No, but I think that's exactly what it felt like to let go of dance and give into boxing. Yeah. Everything you just said. Like I almost feel like for a good amount of years, I was like holding my breath. Oof. And boxing, you got to breathe.
Yeah, you got to exhale. You must breathe.
You must breathe.
Yesterday, I was like, because I had not worked out, and I came back to your class, and I was like, Jesus, is there air in the room? Holy Spirit, be a fresh wind. I was like this. I was praying. Well, you never do, so I'm used to that. But it was something extra sticky yesterday. I was like, maybe it's your like lungs being out of shape. Maybe it's you. Okay, so if you had to give advice, I feel like that's a good sell. But to someone who maybe is interested in it, is like boxing or like it can sound intimidating, especially because we live in very like populous cities where it's like everyone knows this. But like if you're in like Wyoming, it's probably not the most. Like you're probably soul cycling, no shade to that. So if someone wants to try something like boxing or something out of their comfort zone and new, especially physically, because New Year's resolutions, I'm sure everyone's headed to the gym, what would be like your piece of advice to encourage them to do that?
I think from just a physical standpoint, if you're looking for a challenge, it's the biggest challenge you'll ever face, like physically. And I think that boxing itself changes your body in ways that I never even thought. And it is a lot.
It's strength.
It's strength. It's cardio. It's, it's a full body.
Yeah, it really is.
I think a lot of times people think that it's just arms. It's just upper body.
My toenails hurt when I'm through.
Actually.
Literally my nails are flying off.
But that's from like a physical standpoint. I would say from a mental standpoint, I think that we hold ourselves back even going to like a normal fitness class or
Mhm.
whatever, and I can speak on that. I don't even always love going to a fitness class. Plot twist, like I don't.
Yeah. I don't like the unknown, which is probably still tied to that perfectionism.
Yeah, and I think boxing challenges that.
But,
Challenges you mentally. It
it
challenges you
definitely challenges
physically.
you mentally.
It keeps you very present.
Yeah,
In the moment.
absolutely.
And I think that the longer you stay with it, the longer you grow with it. It's
Yeah.
probably the first thing. I think I read this. It's like the first thing you'll do outside of maybe learning a language or
Mhm.
being in school. It's the first thing since any of those things that you actually have to develop. Like you can't just like walk in
And be great.
and be great. You can be okay. Like there's some people who are more natural at it and some that aren't, right?
Mhm.
But you don't just walk in and be dope at it.
Yeah.
You actually have to go again.
Right.
Go again. There's so much repetition. Again,
Yeah.
again. So I also think it builds patience.
Mhm.
So my best advice would just be to go because you may not be good at it, but it will teach you everything that you need to know
Right.
about you.
With lower pressure, lower stakes, because
Yeah.
even all the other things we were naming, there's a lot of repetition there, but it's like you must be perfect each time
Right.
rather than you must develop into your best self, whatever that looks
Right.
like. I
Right.
love that.
And I think it's also to your point, like I think it's a scary thing to think about.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of even the first gym I went into, you know, it
Mhm.
was like dark. It was a little grimy. It
Yeah,
was like it made me run.
It's giving 8 Mile.
Yeah.
Truly. The gym is scary.
Gym is scary. I
vibes
think
are off.
any gym is really scary because like
For
a lot of
sure.
times you hear like whoosh, whoosh, like
Yeah.
loud
Me
grunting.
screaming.
From a woman's perspective, I
Yeah.
think that, you know, it's
for
always
sure.
been super male
Mhm.
dominated in some of
Mhm.
these gyms. That's scary, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that places like a box union
Mhm.
is wonderful
Mhm.
for you to at least get to know the sport
Yeah.
because it's a bit of a safer,
Intro.
more inviting transition,
Oh,
the
for sure.
intro. Yeah.
And there's fun music and it's kind of your own thing. I think being in the dark in that way, like it's not pitch black, y'all, but it's pretty close. I think it's
Sometimes.
helpful because it really feels like it is me and this bag and whatever. Like you'll do a lot of, you know, that's why you're a life coach, but motivational things where you literally feel like your lung has left your body and gone to your back shoulder blade. And then literally is getting dust and atmosphere on it. That's how I feel. I need you to feel me. And Lo will be like, you're the one standing between. And I'll be like, fine. I'll like reach and put my lung back in. I'll be like, but it's really,
everything.
no, it's, am I wrong? Yeah, I wish you could take your class. That's what I want more. That's what I want for my birthday. So in August, be ready.
Me
because-
take my own class.
Yeah, no. Sometimes I'm like this young lady, but it's never, I'm never like, damn, I wish I didn't go. Ugh, hate that
And
for
I
me.
might be doing something right there.
Well, don't remember this next week when I flick you off.
You always do.
I'm always like,
I always know when I look at her and she's like turned.
I've been
her
trying
head
to tell
away.
her, people are dying. Kim.
And
but
I'm
it's
like,
fine.
Marissa, get your hands
No.
up. please."
Okay, so in the process of that, let's talk a little about leaving family, moving to a new cities, and then just sort of the transition there because people at home may not know, but you lost your mom.
Mhm.
So how in the process of early-ish adulthood, trying to figure out life, moving, and then losing like the closest person to you,
Yeah.
not to just
Jump
into
in.
that, but I think when it comes to fighting back in life, that's probably where I would have tapped out of the ring.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear your perspective on how you kept fighting.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think you're right. Losing my mom was like the hardest thing. I actually just wrote about it because I'm like,
Yes,
low-key trying to
journal.
write a book.
Oh, well, you're going to have it because you've been journaling a lot. So
Oh,
you can
yes.
just put those pages together.
That's pretty much what I'm
I'll
doing.
be there for mine to be signed.
And-
Front line.
Please and thank you. So my mom passed really fast. I don't even know if I've ever told you that. We found out she was sick, and then 3 weeks later, she basically passed.
How old were you?
I was 21. Yeah,
I'm going to try not to cry.
which is like older, but like not.
No.
You know, like I was still that
Yeah.
brat. That
I
like,
could be 90 and it would be too soon.
dude. I don't think there's ever probably a good time
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
But I remember the day I took her to the hospital that she was also a stubborn woman. I
Mhm.
get it from her.
Mhm.
She wouldn't go. She wouldn't go.
Of
She
course
wouldn't
not.
go. Finally, I was like, we gotta go.
Mhm.
She couldn't really walk. And I
Mhm.
remember I sat her up and I ran to go get the car. because we didn't have a parking. So I had
Right.
to go street parking, right?
Mhm.
Ran to go get the car. And I had this moment where I started shaking and I started just like almost crying. And I said to myself, I was like, this is the only moment you get. It's the only moment you get. And I took a big, deep inhale, big exhale. And I was like, never in front of her
Mhm.
is all I said. And I feel like that moment, I even realized it then when I think about it now, that moment was the moment I started fighting. If I had to be really honest, because that moment, our roles switched, right?
You're gonna
From
make me cry,
her
bro.
being my caretaker, my person that I leaned on.
Yeah.
I had to be that for her. I had no idea how to be that for her.
Yeah.
But I started with, I'm not gonna cry, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure she's good. When I got her, went through the whole process, we got, really not good care.
Right.
But I think once she we kind of knew what was going on.
Right.
At one point she said to me, I just want to make sure you're okay. Just want to make sure you're
right
okay.
now.
Yeah.
Or period.
Just period. Because we were not very well off. Like
Mhm.
at one point we were, like we were never like rich,
Mhm.
but we were never struggling.
Mhm.
But around this time for the year or two, we were struggling. Couldn't even buy pizza. Like it. And so she was really stressed about me and school. And we were obviously already taking out loans, but we were looking at other loans. And she was like, I just want to make sure you're okay.
Right. How are you doing?
Yeah. And I was like, Mom, I'm okay. I figured it out. Even though I actually hadn't, I was like, I figured it out. I got it. I'm good. I did it. I did it. You're good. You're good. A week later she passed. And I think that moment that I took, I just never let go of. And I never then gave myself a moment to ever have it, even after she passed. So to your question about how I kept fighting, I don't even know if I was really fighting for, I would say even close to like 8 to 10 years after she passed. I was just really surviving. And I really hung on to. Sorry,
no, and I'm like, I don't want to make you cry, but this is why I didn't put lashes on. So, anywho, just hanging in there.
So I just hung on to me telling her that I was okay. Because and that's what I sort of was my North Star and everything.
You were willing that to be true.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just always going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay, which was fine. And it got me through a good amount of years. It shockingly got me to New York. It got me to a lot of things, but I don't know if I was ever really living and if I was ever really fighting. I almost feel like I was numb through a lot of it until I finally like woke up and I wanted more, and I wanted to live, and I wanted to fight, and I wanted to see what I wanted.
Yeah. And be more than okay.
And be more than okay. And not just survive. I really wanted to live.
Real okay. Yeah. What made you wake up?
Kind of just being at the fucking
No, yeah.
I was like trying not to this whole time.
No.
But I was at my fucking lowest.
Yeah.
Zero money. Did not know how I was going to eat. Did not know if I even made the right decision to dance. Did not know anything. And I left New York. So it was pretty much when I left New York that I moved to LA that I was like, I'm awake. I'm here. I don't know. And I think that's why, honestly, the transition with dance started happening, because I think there was a second that I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Like I was doing it because I knew she loved it when I danced. And I couldn't tell if I was doing it because I loved it. So
you're like holding on to memories.
Right. Because, I'd already lost so much of her. I have some things of her, I have a lot of things still, but it was not the things that meant something. Like the phone that I had with her texts and her voicemails got stolen. That was gone.
Lord have mercy.
This ring actually, which is a crazy story. Right before she passed, she gave me, we were packing things up because we couldn't afford to live in the apartment that we were in. And she gave me her class ring. And it was this gold with this ruby, and it had her initials on the inside. And I kid you not, this ring had survived so many things. Like on my college graduation day, it slipped off while I was paddleboarding, slipped off. And once you drop something in the ocean, anyone
I'm about to
knows,
say,
once you drop something in the ocean, it's
gone. I fear.
It's gone.
Yeah.
My boyfriend at the time ran to the beach because he knew.
Yeah.
Ran to the beach, got like snorkel gear, and just went to town.
Shout out him.
And I'm just sitting there like, it's gone. There's no way. I kid you not, like 10, 15 feet away from me, he goes, I got it. Started screaming, I got it. It was perched on a piece of coral, apparently, is what he said. Wild.
You
Wild.
still needed it.
Still needed it. In New York, it fell off on a subway platform. And I somehow knew exactly where I thought it was.
Of course, yeah.
Got off the train, got back. It was still there. Yep. I got to LA. And I was going through my transition with dance. You know, I was just starting to box on the side more. I hadn't really fully committed to it yet. And I wasn't even at boxing yet, I don't think. I went out dancing, salsa dancing.
Of course.
And it must have flown off and never found it. I was heartbroken. But to your point, I think that on some level, I didn't need it anymore.
I was going to say, it was like a releasing it in a way. Like she is still with you, whether you have the physicalities. And it's at this point, it's like who she equipped you to be is how she lives on. So outside of the phone, the messages, the rings, like you are the way. I saw this the other day that was like a Reddit thread that was tweeted, and I was like, oh, I get chills thinking about it. But I sent it to my mom about her mom. I just got goosies. But they basically, someone was saying their mom passed away giving birth to them. And they were like, so I always feel so guilty and blah, blah, blah. And long story short, this person responded, was like, I'm a mom and I'm letting you know that you are how she stays in the world. And I was like, like you're how she stays in it. It's not the ring. It's not dance. It's not like any other physical tangibles that we hold on to on this side of things, right? Because at the end of the day, all you have is like your heart, her being her essence, and everything that you are every single day. If you woke up and never got out of the bed, like that honors her.
Yeah. And there were days that I didn't get out of bed. And there were days that I used to always go to these slumps of like 3 days where I just was like, I was almost paralyzed.
Grief. You've heard of it.
Yes.
These like weird slumps. Like I would get sad. It's
then
so
one day
weird.
I'd be angry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So weird. I'd cry even. Could you believe it?
So weird.
So then what has been from that time one of the biggest things you credit with helping your mental health and your mental wellness sort of get back on track?
I think getting to know myself. And I think specifically, I think where it really changed was when I started living by myself.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, because you kind of run out of things to do in a studio apartment.
Like, I'll be in here like, well, to myself.
Yes, and I would watch old shows. I would do literally anything but get to know myself. And that's kind of when I started to really write, and I started to read again, and I started to listen to podcasts. I was just willing to figure out what I even wanted. Yeah. You know, kind of back to earlier in our conversation of like, who am I? That's
the real you.
The real me. The one that's not also like identified by the girl that lost her mom. Because that was also part of the story. You know, it was, I'm a dancer and my mom died. And my dad wasn't really around. Like that was the story that I told people. Yeah. And it was never just like, I'm low and I love pink. And I love my CC Chevy. That's the name of my car. You know, I love being girly. I love, you know, being like in some ways masculine. I love being tough. Like I couldn't even say those things. I was too busy looking at the things that were labels on me.
I think even when you said that, I just thought like thinking of the things that I feel that I don't have. I feel like those things define us so much more than what we do.
Yeah.